Welcome to Circle City Conversations. Thank you for joining me for our conversation today. Thank you to our sponsor, Hurst, Limontes, an Indiana law firm representing injured Hoosiers and their families for over 50 years. We launched episode 1 a couple of months ago, and since then we've had some great guests and conversations. I'd like to thank everyone for their continued support. I'm here with Chris Eskew, the founding attorney of the Eskew law firm. He just rolled his eyes. I think we got that on camera. I've known Chris for a long time. We've been friends for a long time since I started practicing law. Thanks for being here, Chris.
Glad to be here.
So we usually start simple. All right. I know the answer to a lot of these questions, but why don't you educate everyone in our audience? Where are you from originally?
I am from Indianapolis. Sorry, I don't hear myself very well. And hate hearing myself. So, no, I grew up here at Southport High School, went to college at DePauw, went to law school here in town, and never left. Indianapolis
native, never left. So you went to Southport High School. You went to DePauw. I've got another DePauw person I'm talking to today, James Bell.
Yes.
DePauw with a W, right?
And you already spoke to Mark.
That's right.
I think it just shows DePauw's a much better school.
Yeah, that's right. Right. I did go to Hanover, and I do remember we played DePauw one year. The one year we played them, I think it was my sophomore year. We got our asses handed. You were probably there.
Graduated.
No, you weren't.
No, I'm old.
Yeah, you're just a little bit. So what position did you played football, right?
I did.
At DePauw, what position did you play?
Went there as a tight end and running stupid, so I got fat and played offensive line.
And you did that all 4 years there?
Yes.
Are you still a big football fan?
Less so, honestly.
Really?
I'm enjoying basketball a lot more now. Still like college football. We were Colts season ticket holders for a long time, but NFL games are kind of long and getting a little boring, honestly.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Yeah. So you're a Colts fan, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How do you think they're going to do the rest of the year? I mean, they're 8-6.
I really haven't watched much. It's been surprising, but
yeah.
I mean, honestly, since Peyton left, I really haven't paid. We were
really
ticket holders with luck for a while, but
yeah. Well, that fizzled out quick, right?
Yeah. It did.
I mean, and you're a big Pacer fan, though, aren't you?
Big Pacers fan.
Yeah. So they started pretty strong. What are they, 13-12 now?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Bit of a downward slide since the in-season tournament.
Right. But they did look good in that tournament.
They look great.
Yeah. So as far as playing sports go, I mean, you played sports for a long time. What are some of the biggest things that you have learned playing competitive sports that you have brought or transitioned into your professional life?
That's an interesting question. Actually, when I was in law school, it was kind of funny. I was talking to a lawyer, and he found out I played college football, and he knew I was going to be an attorney. He thought it would be great for my career, and I didn't really get it at the time. I think it's really just a matter of preparation and being willing to put the work into whatever it is, whether it's law or sports or dance or whatever it is you're into. I mean, just the habit and knowledge about how much work it takes to be prepared to do what it is you want to do. Where was I go with that? But that's probably it. I mean, it's not like trials are fun like football games or anything like that, but it's still just a matter of, especially in litigation like we both do, it's still a little bit of competitive spirit.
Yeah.
The juice is going a little bit and the adrenaline. Yeah. So it's not just walking in the courtroom. It's just, are you willing to do the work before you get in there? To be prepared?
Right. So you obviously you're a lawyer at Eskew Law. At what moment in your life were you like, I want to be a lawyer? Like, what happened?
I don't know.
What happened? What is wrong with you?
No, what's wrong with all of us? I think we're fortunate. I think we both enjoy our jobs. I know a lot of people in our profession don't. I really didn't want to be a lawyer growing up. I mean, I was, stereotypes, lawyers are terrible and miserable and all that stuff, and certainly not a criminal defense attorney, which I am now. I majored in computer science, and I really, really enjoyed the analytical side of that, and programming and database development and things like that. But I got really fed up of not being around people or helping people. It just wasn't working out, and kind of took the LSAT on a whim. It went really well, and I had like a week to start applying for law school, so I guess I'm going to go to law school. And eventually ended up here. I thought I was going to do intellectual property, patent trademark. Then I realized near the end of law school that was going to be just as boring as what I was doing before.
Right.
Took a trial practice class at a criminal defense clinic with Novella and Fran at school. Really loved it. I thought I was going to be a prosecutor. And that internship lasted about a day. Different administration. This is no knock on any prosecutors practicing right now anywhere around here. But they were much more interested at the time of winning than my idealistic self of what is right and wrong. And it just wasn't a good fit. There was a current judge who talked me back into doing drug cases for the rest of the summer. Thank her. Probably remain nameless. But and then I switched over to the PD where I met you. When I was there for a while. Then you started and met you and spent some time there and went out on my own. So you were a public defender. I was a public defender. Yes.
Tell me a little bit about, being a public defender and what it was like, maybe like early days misdemeanor court versus, kind of making that upward transition in the public defender agency back then.
Those early years were the best.
Yeah.
And really, those were fun.
Yeah.
It's a great experience. It's not like people take the cases light. I mean, I was more nervous, honestly, doing trials back then. I think you probably were too than we are now. So took it seriously. But looking back on it, that's when you can go to parties and tell stories, not about clients' names and stuff, obviously, but this situation popped up and the police said this happened and they were funny. Now it's cases we're handling now are not funny and nobody wants to hear those stories, or if they think they do, but I'm not talking about those.
Right.
It's a great experience. I mean, those were fun. Those days were fun. Hanging out, bouncing ideas off each other, things like that. Obviously, as you get more experienced and get more difficult cases, that fun factor tends to go away quite a bit, a little darker. But no, those early years were great.
You worked your way up to major felony drug court, right?
Yes.
What were some of the cases you were working on there?
I mean, obviously drug cases. There's a lot of dealing. Honestly, it was, as far as the pay at the time, it was much the same pay as people doing murders and sex crimes and things like that without the victims and the quite as terrible stories. And you could still jump up there and do a case here and there. So it was a good spot to be. I mean, I tell a lot of public defenders and prosecutors now who are working for these promotions, like, be careful. I mean, it gets really serious and really stressful really quick for a very minimal pay increase. Don't let your ego get in the way of your life balance and taking care of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you do a lot of like suppression hearings, things like that?
A lot of Fourth Amendment stuff. Yeah.
Is that, now currently you're in private practice, right?
Yes.
So is that, do you do a lot of drug cases now? Did you get a lot of good, valuable experience that you brought into your private practice?
Yeah, a lot of good experience. I'd like to do more drug cases, honestly. We mostly are doing murders and sex crimes anymore. I don't know, not necessarily. I mean, it's important work and happy to do that as well. But I mean, I would definitely like to get more drug cases. Again, just like I said, there's no victim. It's still very serious, but maybe a little less dark and typically an easier sell to a judge. If there's a victim there, if you have to get to sentencing. So, I mean, but the Fourth Amendment stuff, it goes across the board. So, I mean, that's been very helpful.
Yeah. I've told this story before. When I remember the day that I left the public defender agency, I worked on a case with Jane Rumley on a child molest case. I didn't even have kids back then. And I spoke with the client and I realized I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
So, and I knew that was the next step, right?
Yeah.
Public defender agency. Eventually you either were in major felony drug court or you worked your way up to major felonies. So, you have other public defenders that work with you at Eskew Law.
Ben Jaffe's there.
Yeah.
Practicing forever. He looks younger than either one of us, but no, he's outdates both of us by a long shot. Who else is still there? Carrie York's there.
Yeah. That was my old court partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's great. Rihanna was a prosecutor. She's over there doing personal injury work. That's it right now.
Yeah. Do you find that hiring people that have had those types of positions, working with them benefits Eskew Law?
I don't know that they need to have been a public defender or prosecutor. I think it's just more who you are as a person. I think the fit and culture is more important necessarily than where you're coming from. The trial experience is great, obviously, except when we do litigation, whether it's family or personal injury or criminal. But I mean, you can get that other places as well. It's really just who you are and are you going to fit in and help out.
Yeah. And that's actually a really good point. You are I guess the founder, but also the manager there at Eskew Law.
Yeah.
Kind of run the firm, do the business side.
Yeah.
Right. Do all the
too many hats.
Too many hats. Do the hiring and firing, right?
Hopefully no firing.
Yeah. Hopefully more hiring than less firing. But when you are looking for, let's say even just a new kind of a new person or a new lawyer, are you looking more at experience, or are they a good culture fit?
Both, obviously. I mean, if they seem incompetent, they can't do the job. Right. But honestly, culture fit seems to be, for me, it's more important. I mean, you can get help as long as you're willing. You have the right personality, willing to ask questions. Mm-hmm. I mean, be willing to accept help, being able to help other people. I mean, smaller firms, mid-sized firms, whatever you want to call us. Yeah. I mean, you got to wear multiple hats. You have to be, I want lawyers who are not too full of themselves to sit at the front desk and answer phones if that's needed.
Right.
I mean, we got to carry something. Okay, I'll carry a box. I don't really care. Like, let's just get this done and whatever needs to happen. Yeah. It's,
I think the practice of law is evolving towards that a little bit, where, your ego is not your amigo. Like, it's not, used to be, lawyers were more like paternal, and we just kind of told people how it is, but now, I think the consumer is more educated now too.
I think a lot of times they think they are.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, because they have
more access to information. That's good.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Which do you prefer more, the practice of law or the business of law?
It goes back and forth, really. I mean, there's times, again, the cases we handle, you get a little burnout, and it's good to just sit and be a business guy for a while. Has its own perks, but I probably enjoy the practice of law more still. But I like them both. And that's kind of probably unusual for lawyers. I think a lot of people, I think you're also very good at both as well. But I think a lot of people fail not because they're bad lawyer, not because they're not good lawyers, but they're just not good at the business side of things. Yeah. Where you can have a really successful career, but doesn't mean you're a good lawyer.
Exactly. I'll say sometimes the consumer can't really tell the difference between a good marketing lawyer and a good lawyer.
Yeah. I had a client, this is years ago, walked in as a murder, as a big case, and they're getting ready to hire us. I'm hiring you because you have XXX award. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many people know this, but most of those awards you just buy.
Right.
You've been in practice for a long time. Here, for $250, buy this plaque that says you're something. And you buy some of those for the backlinks to the internet site and things like that. But I sat there and looked them dead in the eyes. Like, don't hire us because of that. Go meet other lawyers, talk to them. We'll do a great job, but this is too important of a decision for you and your family to base off some stupid marketing thing. It's got to be upfront about that.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have any lawyers in your family, do you?
No.
First generation?
Yeah.
First generation.
During COVID, my kids thought they wanted to be lawyers because I was home with them all the time. Now I'm back at work and they're like, wait a second. No, maybe not.
That's funny. So you were a public defender for a little bit, and then you started Eskew Law in 2011?
I think that's right. There were several iterations. Started out with Snyder, Knowles, Eskew, and Bunch back when we were PDs. It was probably right at the time you started. And then that policy changed a little bit when Bob took over. And then had a few other partners that did not go particularly well for different reasons, both sad.
Right.
And just decided it's probably best to do it on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. And I even worked with you.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, use some space.
Yeah, I had a closet. Yeah, it was a closet with
that was the Eskew Bailey time period. Yes.
Yeah, a little closet in the corner.
And look at you now.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Be careful what you ask for. That's what my
favorite deposition ever happened in that office, though.
Really? Tell me about it.
What happened? I don't remember. I was actually representing individual who was involved in the music industry that was in town promoting some stuff and got in a bar fight. And this kid was just...
Oh, my gosh.
He was 20 something. His dad brought him in. His dad wanted to sit in the deposition. I'm like, absolutely not. The prosecutor was there. I forget who it was, but it was a woman, and this guy they got in a fight over some girl at the bar. But I remember I just kept pushing him, and he was just a punk. But eventually he got to the point, he started talking about the girl they were arguing over, and I didn't like her anyway. She's a big girl. I was like, oh, it's a big girl. He's like 120 pounds. And the prosecutor's like, what? And he got so mad, he took a bottle of water or whatever, took it, slammed on the ground, just walked out. And she's
really?
Like, we'll just go ahead. We'll just drop this case. It was fun. I mean, not a serious case again. Like, those are the fun ones. But, man, it was interesting.
Yeah. Well, but you're right. I mean, I remember my early days in the public defender agency. My first jury trial was resisting law enforcement and disorderly conduct. And my client was a 60-year-old woman with fibromyalgia. Oh, yeah. Yeah. How resisting by force, you know? So, and that was fun.
Yeah.
And but the stakes get higher.
They do.
You know, and
the risk gets higher.
The risk gets a lot higher.
I was talking to a client recently, and he's got to resist causing injury where the client's clothing injured the officer's finger. I was like, come on. But again, I mean, it's still a lower level case, grand scheme of things. But he's between felony or misdemeanor, and that's significant.
Right.
So trying to weigh that is.
Right. Practicing criminal law now in the new CJC versus back in the day at the city county building.
I don't hate it as much as everybody else does.
You don't?
What I really miss, and I'm sure this is pretty common, is being able to get into the court office and seeing the court staff and talking to the judges. Not on the record. Not anything shady's going on. It's just that personal interaction.
It's great. Yeah.
But that being missing is a big negative. But I mean, people complain about the walk from the parking lot, but you don't have to look for a parking spot, really. It's like you're when we're downtown, and if you're coming in from out of county or something, and 15 minutes late and looking for parking spots somewhere in Delaware, I mean,
it's going to be impossible.
And the courtrooms are nice. I mean, they're not really any bigger, I don't think, than they were before, but I don't like the organization. I think it'd be easier to find the courts. I mean, I'm there all the time, but still, I couldn't tell you what courtrooms where. The way that they're doing the hearings and how they're kind of shuffling the courtrooms around. Some, but most courts seem to be in the same place.
Pretty consistent.
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I can't figure it out. I just go to the computer, punch in a name, and go where it tells me to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember walking, I was in court 18, walking back behind Judge Hill in the little tiny cell that's half the size of this room we're in right now. Yeah. There'd be like 20 dudes in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, the back behind Court 8. That lockup was terrible.
That was Pear Court, right?
Yeah.
Do they have that anymore? A version of that? Mental health court, kind of?
I honestly can't answer that. I mean, just what I'm doing now. I know veteran court, Judge Serto's running is great.
Okay.
They have felony diversion court's good.
Okay.
But I'm sure there's something like that, but those aren't typically my clients right now.
So you try a lot of cases, right?
Yes.
We were talking about you have trials coming up, and in the criminal world, well, you've got Rayana there that works with you. She does civil work, right?
Yes.
You notice a big difference in the number of trials between criminal and civil.
We do a lot more in criminal. We do a lot more. But we do less in private criminal than we do as public defenders also. But
and that was going to be my next question. What was like the biggest thing that surprised you when you transitioned from being a public defender to being a criminal defense attorney?
I don't know that much did. I don't think much changed really, at least initially. I mean, because you're starting out, I mean, no one knows who you are.
Right,
and you're getting maybe some former clients who are PDs or friends, but they're still very similar or lower level cases typically.
Yeah.
And you kind of build up. So there wasn't like a really shocking moment like, oh, this is so different. I would say expectations are higher.
Yeah. From the
understandably.
Client.
And they should be. I mean, you shouldn't be taking, not just their pain. I mean, you should have a more manageable caseload. Right. You should be able to give more time to them. So I'd say expectations are higher. I think also that clients listen typically better. Maybe it's because they're paying you, or maybe just older and seem to have a better idea what I'm talking about. But I mean, those are probably the two biggest differences.
As far as cases that you've worked on, what's one of the the craziest cases that wildest kind of stories or fact pattern?
I was actually just talking to somebody about this the other day, and I really don't remember them as well as, like I said, when we first started, those were fun. There were stories we all had the PC of the officer in Broad Ripple.
Right.
Kid lost the pet pig or whatever, right. And that went around the office. I think it's around the prosecutor's office too.
Right.
I mean, those were fun and funny. I mean, now I remember cases, but they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact patterns might be crazy, but they're not really things you want to talk about really all that much.
Right.
I mean, it's just so dark.
Yeah. Unfortunately, right.
I mean, whether innocent or not, something happened to somebody most of the time. Yeah. And it's bad.
Yeah. Kind of, do you find yourself doing a lot of kind of emotional management of the clients?
I do of the clients.
Or the family maybe more?
The family a lot. It's just explaining, the process. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of talk of right and wrong versus legal, or practical law versus academic law. The reality is we got to sell whatever's going on. We're supposed to. But the reality is you do have to persuade these 12 people on a jury. And sometimes what's legal or illegal is not necessarily right or wrong. I don't know if that's making sense or not. I was talking to a client recently about his case, and I think you're right. I agree with you, but that's not what the law says. Right. They're just not always the same thing.
Right. Right. And we, even in what I do, and I'm sure Ray deals with this too, get people asking questions all the time. For example, if health insurance gets to be reimbursed from any settlement, people, they're like, well, why? Why do I pay for my health insurance? Well, the law is the law, right?
Yeah.
You can't change that. So
it's like they have a really good group of people lobbying legislature.
Right. Yes, they do.
It's like they have all this money. It's so strange. It's like they're taking your money to hurt you. It's
bizarre. Trial. What is your favorite part of trial?
Voir dire.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
You get to talk to people. You never know what's going to happen. It gets crazy.
Yeah. Right.
But it's just really thinking on your feet. There's only so much prep work you can do.
Yeah.
When you put together an outline, issues you want to hit, and the skills you develop about trying to tie it all together and between jurors, but you don't know what's going to come out of their mouth. So that's kind of fun. When you do a trial, you have a pretty good idea what the witness is going to say.
Yeah.
But the jurors can be interesting.
Yeah. Do you, I know in the personal injury field, we want, at least myself and some of the lawyers here, we want those jurors that think there's too many lawsuits, or they don't believe in giving people money for pain and suffering. We want them to talk about that.
Absolutely.
Do you, in the criminal field, do you want all those bad things to come out during voir dire?
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. You know who these people are. And then also, so you can strike them, hopefully for cause.
Yeah.
You just want to know who they are. There's no wrong answer.
Yeah.
People ask, what do I say to get off a jury? I'm like, I know you. Just be honest. They're not going to keep you. But I want that out there. I want to know who they are. I don't want the people who give you either side the answer they want to hear. They concern me. But every case is a little different what you're looking for, at least on our side. Self-defense cases. We want people who are pro Second Amendment, pro gun, typically more conservative.
Yep.
Maybe a sex crime, not so much. You want some more analytical who's going to truly give the benefit of the doubt to the defendant. Different cases, you're looking for different things.
Yeah. Self-defense, it's funny you said that. That was my first bench trial. I won on self-defense. Yeah. Disorderly conduct. Because
who was the judge?
It was Becky Pearson Tracy.
Okay.
And Amy Martins was the prosecutor. And
I saw her last weekend, actually.
Yeah, but she's not really practicing anymore. No, she runs her family's truck business. And, so I don't know if this is still the law, but the burden shifts once the claim is made and evidence is presented of self-defense. And it was an issue where Amy didn't have any witnesses. So I moved for a directed verdict after. Yeah. And we won. I won that case. I thought that was just wild. That was 2 weeks after I became a lawyer.
Yeah.
Right. They just throw you in it.
They do. Well, it's crazy now. The turnover on both sides is so high. Prosecutors a major felony that I've never met in Marion County. I'm like, I'm not saying they're not good lawyers or anything like that at all, but I don't know you. And
exactly.
You've only been practicing 3 years. It's just, I feel bad for them, honestly. Just trying to not they're at a disadvantage, but just knowing like what's more serious and not in the grand scheme of things, just experience wise, it's going to be rough.
Well, and I will say, going back to the point we made about the CJC, I think it's different, you know, especially as a young lawyer. Like I remember walking from the Gold Building through the City Market, getting coffee, like walking into the building, you know, and I just don't think you see that.
No, it's a little more sterile. That's true.
Yeah. Like
there's not as much community. It doesn't really feel like there's nothing around there. You can't go hang out anywhere. Right. Like between AM or PM sessions or anything like that.
Yeah. Like the Legal Beagle. Oh my God. What happens at the Legal Beagle stays at the Legal Beagle.
I don't know anything that happened at the Legal Beagle.
So your household, you guys are a house of learned doctors, right?
Some more learned than others, yes. My wife is infinitely smarter than I am.
Yes, yeah. How does it feel to have a wife that's way cooler than you?
It's great. Drags you places, going to go to a lot of concerts. No, seems to be the common refrain for people. Yes, she's definitely a better person.
She is great. She's doctor.
You have a cooler wife than yourself.
I know what it's like. You know, I mean, I
did say you know the answer to most of these questions. So
so but you've got less children than I do.
Yes,
so,
half.
I mean, half the number. Yeah, I tell people my house is like the Thunderdome. You know?
I can't imagine.
2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
Or maybe you just leave. I don't know.
So how much time do you think you find yourself, you know, doing actual legal work versus the business of law?
It flows. Yeah. I mean, it really does flow right now. Yeah. This is a pretty slow time for us, honestly. Courts are closing down.
Right.
I mean, frankly, families aren't spending money on lawyers right now. Your practice, it doesn't really matter if they have money up front or not.
Correct.
Ours does. So, I mean, it's holiday season, and understandably people hanging on their money a little bit. So it's kind of slow right now for us, which is good. Gives us a chance to catch up on some of the administrative and business side of things. But then come turn of the year, tax time, it gets crazy, and hopefully everything's in place and operations are in place to get going and practice more law.
When in the short stint that I did some criminal work, I realized the same thing. It does slow down during the winter.
It's more like a used car, sort of. I mean, it's not, but I mean, just the flow of people's income.
Yeah. And I like to think that it was just because it's colder out, so people have less of an opportunity to do stupid things, you know? So
that might have something to do with it. Personally, I think it's disposable income, but
yeah. So, you mentioned concerts. You're a big concert goer, right?
I go to a lot of concerts. Yes.
Yeah. What's your favorite, the best concert experience you've had?
Man.
I
don't know. That's a loaded question. I could go I've been to a lot of really good shows.
You went to Bonnaroo.
I've been every year since I was 6.
That's what I was going to say. But you've been out there and stayed like in the lawn, right?
We went GA for a little while, and then
you got
Snyder's went with us for several years. And went with Ladd and Brooke Russell, and
yeah. Have you talked to Alan lately?
Yeah, I
haven't seen him.
He was at our open house.
Oh yeah.
And then I know Carrie saw him yesterday, actually.
Okay.
I talk to him occasionally.
Yeah.
That's great.
Do you guys in your office kind of all work together as a unit on cases?
Especially on the criminal side. I mean, that's the biggest part of our practice as far as lawyer-wise. And we all have different strengths. I think Ben and I are probably a little too similar, but with our strengths and weaknesses. But just different ways of looking at a case or fact or talking to a client. Maybe, you know how it is. I mean, sometimes clients, they get upset about the situation. They might blame the attorney, and maybe it's just a second voice saying the same thing, essentially.
Right.
Just because, like we said, the law is the law.
Yeah.
And may come over a little better. But definitely brainstorming. Our major felony juries, we always have 2 lawyers sit on it, even just to give a rest and take notes and things like that. So, we work together a lot. But even like Rihanna, I mean, I review stuff she does or asks me or Ben, just trial-wise, just experience, like, how do you think this will work, or what do you think about that? And then, Yasmin with family law, that kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of our cases. I mean, if it's a child molest case, many times that's going to lead to a divorce and coordinating that. So we all work together.
Yeah, very cool. So as far as your practice goes, like what's next for Eskew Law?
Hopefully hiring another family law attorney here in the next month or so. Just keep growing. Might go into a few other practice areas, but keep it client focused. Might look at some immigration. Yeah. Just like we said at the beginning, I mean, hiring people based off the fit and where they want to take their practice and want to help them do that, as long as it's kind of symbiotic to everything else that's going on. I originally hired Rayanna, like you said, was doing our civil work, looking for a criminal defense attorney. And she said she would do that for a time being, but really wanted to grow a personal injury practice. And so we kind of helped her with that transition. She helped us out with the criminal. We looked for another criminal lawyer and helped her. It takes time. I mean, we started with Bill. So, that was kind of already there, but it takes time to build a personal injury practice. So that took a few years and get that off the ground. But now she doesn't speak to us criminal lawyers and stays in her own little wing and her own little fiefdom. That's not true. She's great. But no, she just does only civil, which is what she wants to do. So if a lawyer comes in and wants to only handle TPR Chin's cases, for instance, that's not what we're doing now, but help build that up and go that direction. So it's kind of hard to say where we're going to go. As long as it's the right person, the right personality, and the practice area makes sense, it could go anywhere. Yeah. You got to stay open and flexible. Yeah.
You're an Indianapolis native, been here forever. What is the best restaurant in Indianapolis?
Oh, probably Vita.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Tinker Street's always really solid. Just there last week. Their scallops right now are amazing. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good restaurants, a lot of great coffee shops here. When we travel, that's what I think we're most spoiled by here. We surprisingly have been Indianapolis and stereotypes. I think there's a lot of good coffee shops around here.
Yeah.
That's my most snobby feature is my coffee now. Maybe music. Yeah. Probably coffee.
Music and coffee. Mine is bourbon and peace and quiet.
Yeah.
So
you should have come to the open house. Had a really good bourbon tasting.
I know. I was at Prime 47 with Board of Trowel.
Had a really nice bottle of H. Taylor, some George T. Stagg.
Oh my gosh.
Stagg, Old Carter, 18-year Knob Creek, and some Blends.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. That would have been an interesting night.
Ask Dave Wall.
So speaking of open houses and parties, I don't know if you still do this, the beer pong tournament.
Oh, no, we've not done that since COVID. We've talked about doing one last one.
Yeah.
We're not young anymore, Alex.
Yeah.
Those were fun times.
So I actually have some pictures.
Oh, great.
Yes. Look at that.
Oh, that's the old house.
That is the old house. There's Nick McGinnis, rest in peace. Yeah. Great trial lawyer.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. And Doug Kowalski. And I think we're holding.
What's Doug doing now? I haven't seen him forever.
He worked at Corporation Counsel for a little bit, I think. Yeah. But I don't know where he's at now. But keg stand at your house. No, that's Hollander, I think. Yes. Yeah. And then that's Brenda. We're playing beer pong or cornhole.
Okay.
And then I can't see.
That's Knowles.
Oh yeah, that's Knowles on the other side. And then there's Leanne.
Max Wiley.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Yeah. And then there's my wife and I. Yeah, there we are. With the sawhorses with the plywood set.
So there was Brenda and Dina. They're running the defense clinic at the law school now.
They are?
Yeah. They took over Fran Novella.
I didn't
know. This is the first group they're doing right now.
Yeah.
Which is two great people to do that.
Right. Who I saw or talked to the other day was Megan von Rutenberg.
Yeah, she's with Todd.
Yeah, she works with Todd. Yeah. Yeah, I've known Todd for years. We went to Hanover together. So for many years. So
those are two personalities that I would love to see on a day-to-day basis.
Right?
I love them both, but
yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's like, wow, really?
So how, if anyone listening, hopefully there's someone, if anyone listening wants to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
They can find us on our website. It's eskewlaw.com. It's ESKEW, not SQ.
Yeah.
Get a lot of squescues. It's Eskew Law, or give us a call. Our office number is 317-974-0177.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you very much.
Always good talking to you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And hold on, I got to do this part. Thanks for listening to Circle City Conversations podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more future conversations.